And first of all, I really want to thank you for this participation, although it's online, but it's very good to have you somehow. I was really touched by your movie. I think it's completely full of universal topics, which go much more beyond Imad's story. How did you get to this particular child?
When ISIS attacked Iraq in 2014 and occupied the Yazidi territorium in Iraq, I went back to Kurdistan. And, you know, when you work in these areas, in camps, you have access to a lot of stories. And it was normal if I could know about Imad. And I found its special condition he has. And I tried to have him in my focus. I was there near to Imad in 2 months when he and his family could be close to me and accept me as a friend. Then I started shooting in 13 months.
So you can see an evolution in Imad himself. What would you say are the keys of this evolution? How did they get him to get in contact with his community, to speak the language again?
You know, Yazidi community is very rich, traditional. They have a lot of songs, they have a lot of music, they have a lot of religion texts, which they use every day. And I think this kind of psychological environment for Imad could help him. And the key for his evolution was his grandmother, who took all responsibility for Imad, because she found that school, medicine, doctors cannot help him. Then she started to take this question in her hands and worked with Imad, and she could just use instruments she had around here. It's very simple instruments, but she could do that. And final of the movie, we see Imad is another person.
Do you think that the language was an important element too? No, the fact that Imad recovers his mother tongue.
You know, Imad's childhood is about identity. I don't like speak about ISIS. I don't like make movie about wars. It's not my job. For me, Imad is a good example when a person, especially when a child loses his identity, and mother tongue, it's most important part of identity. I think, when Imad in the end of movie write his name on tent, and then she said, "It's my name, it's Idan, and it's my name." It was clear for me he has found his identity.
Nevertheless, there is another very important person, which is Imad's mother, Ghazala. She really seems to be living a double trauma. The trauma of her son seeing that at a certain point she has the feeling that she won't make it with Imad, that she cannot recover him. But then it's her own trauma, having lost her husband, and what probably happened to her when she was in captivity. And this is very important part of the movie, because she's always there in silence, and living her own trauma. When they try to paint her nails, it's like that's a very powerful scene too.
Imad had his mother as a victim whom he need to practice this ISIS ideology, ISIS behavior, which he had learned from ISIS. The first step was when Imad began see Ghazala as a woman, as a mama, not as a victim, a person who can take power over. Then when Imad got better, Ghazala became ill, sick, because she started thinking about her husband. Then she started to understand that she has lost her husband. And now I have contact with them, and I speak with them every month, every 2 weeks. And it's same for Ghazala. She didn't hear nothing about her husband, and she's waiting. And yeah, it's very difficult for her now.
Mm-hmm. And how are the children? How are Imad and his brother?
Very good. In 2018, a Canadian organization invited them to Canada, to Toronto, to help them. And Imad goes to school now, and he's good. He has professional psychological help from people in Canada.
Years has passed since that kind of stories began. Are you optimistic about recovering those children who's been through such a terrible trauma?
Absolutely, because me as person has the same experience in my life. I was born in war. I participated in war. I was a victim, and I had a lot of experience of the war. And the children, which I know, who I know from my childhood, and we was in same situation now. I can tell a story very interesting. When the movie was ready, I shot for Imad. Imad was the first person who watched the movie, and he was in Toronto, and because of Corona, I couldn't go to Canada, but I managed online screening for Imad, and I asked Ghazala to keep the mobile live video on his face during the whole movie. And after 77 minutes watching, Imad was silent in a few minutes. Then I asked him, Imad, what do you think? He told me, yes, it was me. I asked, do you remember that? Do you recognize you? He told me, yes, I remember and I know. And then I asked him, Imad, I have permission from your mama and your grandma to show all material which I should. But now it's very important for me to ask you personally, if you could give me the permission to show this movie to audience in festivals, in TV broadcasting. And it took 1 minute to answer me, and I had big stress. He told me, yes, you can do that, but please tell them, the audience, I am changed.
Well, Zahavi, I'm so pleased, and I really thank you for this Q&A. I hope that audience will really appreciate having had these words with you, and knowing the real story, what was behind the scenes, and overall, thanks for this optimistic message at the end, because probably some people are reluctant or are not so optimistic. And as you know, we have had some integration problems with the people coming back from Syria and Iraq. And so I think that your message is very powerful. Thanks a lot for your
Thanks a lot for your film. With your festival. Thank you so much.